friends, welcome to a new reading vlog. So this month, it is now February. Today is February 1st. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to bring you guys along on a reading journey with me for the arcs that I have for the month. One of my goals for 2024 is to really get focused on the arcs that I'm being given, whether I'm receiving them physically in the mail or through NetGalley. I don't receive as many physical books now as I have in years past. But I have been getting a decent amount of books through NetGalley, so I'm very happy about that. So I have my February TBR here. I just filmed my February TBR video. So for the month of February, I have 4 arcs that are being published this month that I want to get to. They are all coming out later on in the month. But I also have 2 books that came out in January, just now, like a couple days ago on January 30th, that I have not finished, that I would like to finish as well. So I'm going to talk to you about those also. And then I'm going to bring you guys along on this reading journey. So, first things first, let's talk about what books it is I'm going to be reading. So, the 2 books that came out in January that I have not finished, the first is The House of Last Resort. I talked about this one, I think, in a weekly vlog recently. This is about a couple who moves to Sicily after getting this really good deal on a house. They are part of this program where the mayor of this small village in Sicily is inviting people from other countries to come and live in these houses for cheap and to help revitalize the town, revitalize the economy, trying to get in young couples who will then have kids and start a new generation in this town and all that. The house they move into, it seems like there are strange things going on in this house, so we're not really sure if there's a locked door element too, which I love, like a locked room. Although the room does mysteriously keep opening. So we're not really sure if it's a haunting type of thing, or I have a feeling there's going to be an element of, there's a lot of religious themes in this too. A lot of it has to do with the church in this village, and a lot to do with Catholicism. So I'm thinking there's going to be a, not crucifixion, exorcism element to it, and possession maybe. Possession and that kind of thing terrifies me, so we'll see how far into that the book goes. If it goes too far into that, I may have to skim, because honestly that kind of thing gives me nightmares. So far it's spooky. It's just on the right side of spooky, enough to kind of give you goosebumps and make you a little bit scared, but not to the point of full terror. If it goes too far, like I said, into the exorcism possession part, I may need to skim it. But so far it's the perfect amount of spooky. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. This, I think I said, came out on January 30th. So I will have a cover up here. I highly recommend you check it out. I'm really enjoying it so far. Then the second book that came out in January is called City of Stardust. I'm really enjoying this. I think it's going to be a standalone. It is a portal fantasy. And this is about a family called the ɪɪrsᴜᴜ who have this curse where I don't know if it's every year, every 10 years, one of them disappears and is taken just from the face of the earth. And eventually we learn that there is portals and other worlds. And so there is the villain of the story. Her name is Penelope, I believe, and she's the one who is taking these ɪɪrsᴜᴜ as a blood payment for the main female character's mom, who stole something from her, and her repayment to them, or revenge to them, was put a curse on this family. And the mom of the main character, I can't remember her name, has disappeared, and the daughter's trying to find her, and that's the main central theme of the story. So yeah, I'm 60% into it so far. I'm really liking it. I love the descriptions of our world, but then the way the portals work is these scholars have keys. They basically keys to open invisible doors, which then open these portals. So I'm really liking it. I'm liking the plot. I think the descriptions are done really well of both the different lands that are in this. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see where it's gonna go. The next arc that I'm going to be reading is one that I'm not 100% sure about. It is by an author that I have not loved in the past. This is going to be Bride by Hazelwood. I know Hazelwood is a very popular author, but I have not loved either of the books I read by her. I read Love on the Brain and I forget what the other book was called, but I read both of those. I have a video about I don't remember, I did like a ranty type video on, I don't remember if it's Love on the Brain or the other one, but I will find it and I'll tag it down below. But this is different. Her books are typically like contemporary romances with like set in the STEM field. This is more of a fantasy, I believe. I believe it has to do with werewolves and vampires. So I'm gonna give it a try, see how it goes, and I will bring you guys along with me for that. Then the next book is gonna be Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I love a Tessa Bailey book. I just recently read Wreck the Halls by her, and it was good, but it wasn't my favorite of her books. But all of her other books that I've read, I have loved. So I'm excited to get into this one. I think this is like a sports romance. I think it has to do with football. But as long as it's a good, fun, smutty time, I think it'll be fun. So I'm excited to check that one out. Then the last two books, I'm honestly not really sure what they're about. I am not the kind of person who reads synopsis or like looks up reviews on Goodreads. I like to go in pretty blind. So I think I chose these based off the covers and the authors. So the first one is going to be An Education in Malice. I'm not 100% sure what this is about, but I do love the title and I'm excited to jump into it. Then the next one is Lord of the Wilds. Again, not sure what it's about. I think it's a fantasy, but I will bring you guys along with me as I read it. So there we go. Those are the 6 arcs that I'm going to be focusing on in this reading vlog. Hopefully some of these will be great reads, and I have some pretty big books here that I know a lot of people are looking forward to, that are some people's like most anticipated reads, especially Bride by Hazelwood. So we'll see how that goes. And yeah, welcome to a new reading vlog. Let's get right into it. Good morning, guys. So today is the first day that I'm picking up one of this month's arcs. So the first one I'm going to be reading is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I'm super excited for this. I think it is a sports romance. I think it's like football, which I don't know that I've ever read like a football sports romance. I think I've only ever read hockey romances. So we'll see how this goes. I'm not like a huge fan of football. I like hockey. I'll watch hockey. I don't really like football at all, so we'll see how this goes. The last Tessa Bailey book I read was kind of tame for her and was just okay. So we'll see if this one is better. So yeah, this one comes out. This is the start of a new series also. This one comes out on February 16th, I believe. So yeah, let's dive right in. I have my coffee. I have some water over here on the nightstand. I have a ASMR room on that I have paused, and the puppies, one here, one here, one here. So yeah, let's get to reading and see how this goes. It's from both their perspectives, so I do like that. He's very like self-doubting and has these feelings of like abandonment. He thinks like there's something mentioned about being left when he was 12 years old, so I'm assuming maybe his dad left or something, and now he has like abandonment issues. And then now with his coach leaving, I think that kind of was like the catalyst that kind of caused everything to crumble. And so after losing this latest tournament, he decides he's gonna quit, and he has this whole like internal monologue about how Josephine is his last fangirl, and she's the one who like makes him want to keep going. She's been following him around for 5 years basically, so it's been a long time. They have had like conversations and stuff, so they kind of know each other, but knowing that she's gonna be at these tournaments is the one thing that has kept him going all this time. And so he doesn't want to let her down, but he just doesn't have like the energy to do it anymore. He keeps losing. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So they have this whole conversation where he tells her he's quitting, and he basically like he figures if he's mean to her, maybe she'll leave and she'll stop looking at him like the hero. And so he grabs her sign and like tears it down the middle and tells her he's quitting. And finally he ends up leaving, and he does actually quit, and he just leaves her there at the golf course. So yeah, that is basically what's happening in the first 2 chapters. I'm 5% in. So I don't know if there was a part where she offered to like teach him, not necessarily teach him to golf, but kind of to help him get his love for the sport back. So I'm assuming maybe that's what's going to happen. At some point, they're going to come back together, and she's going to like inspire him again and help him get like his mojo back and get back into the game. So yeah, I'm going to keep going, and so far it's okay. It's definitely like grumpy sunshine. The girl, Josephine, seems like she might be a little bit annoying. She's a little bit too like optimistic for me, but we'll see how it goes. And I will check back in when I get further. Okay, so I'm 10% in now, or actually 11% in now. I'm on chapter 6. So, this book is actually kind of perfect for me. So it's set mostly in Florida, in Palm Beach. And there's a part where a hurricane comes through, and actually destroys Josephine's parents' pro shop. And I'm actually from Florida, and I've been through many a hurricane, so this is very like familiar to me. And it turns out that Josephine has type 1 diabetes, and so she has to have like her monitor that checks her blood sugar, and then she has to take insulin, which is also something that's very familiar to me. One of my aunts had type 1 diabetes, and it was a whole thing when I was growing up, and she actually passed away several years ago, but something, again, I'm very familiar with. And so after having quit, Wells, a few weeks later, after having gone on this like drinking binge, is feeling bad about the way he treated Josephine, and then he realizes that this hurricane has come through. He has a condo in Miami, which is actually where I'm from. He hears that the hurricane hit Palm Beach pretty badly, and a lot of things were destroyed. So he heads to Palm Beach, and discovers that Josephine's family's pro shop has been destroyed, and she had they'd been having a hard time money-wise, but she's the one running the shop, and so she had not only not paid the flood insurance, but she also is not paying for her own medical insurance because she can't afford it. And so she's been paying for her insulin out of pocket, which anybody knows is expensive, plus her insulin pump and all the other things. And so they make a deal that she's going to be his caddy, so she can, so he can pay her, and she can get, have the money, so she can have the money to fix the shop, and so that she can help him try to like get back into the groove of things. And so yeah, it's basically going kind of how expected. I wasn't expecting the whole hurricane thing. Like I said, I actually kind of like that as an additional element, a way to like bring them together. So yeah, I'm on chapter 6. We'll see how else. The sexual tension is already starting to ramp up, especially on Wells' side. I love a book when he kind of falls first. I mean, she is his fan, so she already has like a crush on him, but she hasn't really started to have like the sexual tension feelings yet, but he is. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go and how they're going to work together. Okay guys, so it's a little while later now. It's about 9:45. I was doing some work, got that done. I'm going to take a little break and do some reading. I was watching YouTube while I was working. I was watching Blair Lamb. I will tag her down below. I've been watching her videos for, I don't even know, years now, like 10 years probably, or something. Or maybe not that long, maybe like 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I was listening to her, or watching her video while I worked. I got like the first like part of what I needed to do for work today done. This little guy has been playing with his toys, and he's been wanting some attention. So I have these 2 pups sleeping here, and then Dobby has just been laying down at the bottom of the bed playing with his toys. So now I'm gonna jump into an education in Malice. So I got like 11% into Fangirl, like I said, but this book is this pub date is on February 16th as well, so I need to get into it. I have a feeling this one's probably going to be longer. So this is the same author who wrote A Dowry in Blood, which I read last year, which I really liked. So I'm hoping that this is going to be the same. I think this is like a dark academia set in like a college in like an isolated like small town. So I really love that. Other than that, I'm not really sure what else it's about. But yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this one. This cover is beautiful. I'm really glad that I was approved for this one. I'm very excited for it. So yeah, I'm gonna jump in and I will let you guys know what I think. So I also want to show you guys this Dark Academia like ASMR like ambient video that I turned on. I love having these on, especially when reading this kind of book. So I think this is gonna be perfect. Okay, so it looks like I just wanted to make you all aware that it looks like the author did include some trigger warnings on here. So it says, An Education in Malice contains depictions of uneven power dynamics, inappropriate relationships between a professor and students, toxic academic environments, blood, gore, and murder, consensual sexual content, including public sex, kink, negotiated and spontaneous, alcohol and drug use, smoking. It also contains brief references to racist political policies, homophobia, religious discrimination against women. So I thought that I would share that with you. I'm not someone who really worries about trigger warnings. For the most part, I'm pretty okay with most things. I'm pretty open-minded. There are a couple of things that are a little bit triggering for me, but for the most part, I'm usually okay. But I thought that I would go ahead and share those. Hey guys, welcome back. So it is a couple days later. I started this vlog on Friday, I think it was. Friday, February 2nd, I believe. It is now Monday, February 5th. So I did do a lot of reading over the weekend. I don't think I already updated this vlog. I think I just showed like when I initially started the books and my initial thoughts. So I want to do an update. As you can see, I'm in my car, on my lunch, heading out on an errand. So I thought that I would go ahead and update now while I can. So the first book, the first arc that I had started for this vlog was An Education in Malice. I'll put the cover back up here again. So I did finish this. I read this in, I think, just about 24 hours, maybe a little bit more. I really liked this. I thought that, I said previously that I really enjoyed A Dowry in Blood, or Dowry of Blood, but I confused that with another book. I have not read A Dowry of Blood. I was thinking of House of Hunger, which I really liked, and this kind of gave me those same vibes, like two women kind of competing for the attention of two women who are not vampires, I should say, two human women competing for the attention and like vying for the attention of a vampire, of a female vampire who is in a place of like power, position of power, over them and over like a group of people. House of Hunger was a little bit different because they were like blood maidens, so they had gone willingly to this house to become blood donors basically to this vampire. There was like a very much like a sexual undertone to it. This was different in that it is set in a college, a like prestigious women's college. I forget exactly where, somewhere up in the Northeast, and it's very like isolated. And again, I love books that have the locations that are isolated and are set like in this one setting. I just like you get such a good feel for that setting, for that location, for the vibes of that place, and it allows the author to really set the whole like scene. So I really enjoy books like that where it's one location and it's very isolated, and that's what this was. So the whole book is set at this college, and there are two students. I forget the first girl's name now. She is Laura, I think, maybe. She has arrived at this college, and she has led a very like sheltered life. She is a pastor's daughter. This is her first time away from like her small town in the south, like Alabama or something maybe. And this is her first time traveling away from like her small town. She's going to this college. She's one of the main characters, and then the other female main character is Carmilla. So this is like a retelling, or yeah, basically like a retelling of the story of Carmilla. And Carmilla is kind of the opposite. She's more worldly. She has experienced more of life. She has traveled. Her parents come from money, but they kind of like ignore her. I forget. I don't think they pass away. I don't think her parents passed away. I think it's the thing where they kind of just like don't care about her. But she did grow up with a lot of money, so they are the opposite in that. Again, I think her name is Laura. Is again more like down to earth and humble, more naive. Doesn't have a lot of like street smarts or like just world experiences. And again, Carmilla is the opposite, where she has experienced a lot. She's traveled a lot, been through a lot, and so she's not as naive. And so both girls become rivals. So this is kind of a rivals, like academic rivals, to lovers. This is sapphic. There's kind of this whole like love triangle thing kind of happening between the two girls and their teacher. I don't want to give away too many spoilers or like plot points, because I really did enjoy this, and I highly recommend that you pick it up, especially if you like vampire books. If you like sapphic books, I definitely recommend this one. Dark academia vibes. The only complaint I have, I gave it 4 stars. The only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars is because I think it was described as and like touted as being more dark and like erotic or smutty than it actually was. The beginning of the book has trigger warnings for like drug and alcohol use, which that does happen. You know, like abuse of power between the teacher and the students, that does happen. Like gore and murder, which does happen. Obviously, like blood, you know, related things. I mean, it's a vampire story, so of course it's going to be like biting and drinking of blood and all that. So trigger warnings for all that. But there was also trigger warnings for like dom sub dynamics and just like darker parts of like sexuality and things like that. And I think there was a little bit of that, but it wasn't. Those aspects weren't really explored as much as I thought they were going to be. And honestly, I didn't really think they were prevalent in the book enough to warrant like warnings. There wasn't anything really triggering. I mean, I guess maybe just because those things are triggering to me, but whenever there's a trigger warning, I expect those things to be like really heavily prevalent in the book. And I feel like those warnings were not. Laura has like dominant kind of tendencies. She kind of fantasizes about like tying Carmilla up, and there's like a scene where she like pushes her up against the wall and is kind of holding her to the wall, and she thinks about like wanting to boss Carmilla around. And then on the other side, Carmilla is a little bit more like out in public. She's very like strong and independent and dominant, but then when it's just them, then she wants to be submissive and subverted and told what to do and all those things. So you get a little bit of that in both of their like inner monologues and thoughts, but it never, like, there's never actually any like on page of that. There's never like a scene where anyone's tied up or you know, any real like kink or anything. It's more just their thoughts of like desiring those kinds of things or fantasizing about those kind of things. So I think just me personally, because I do enjoy like darker romances, and I enjoyed those kinds of stories, I would have preferred there have been more of that, or if it had been like actually part of the sex scenes. There were a few sex scenes. Some of it was on page, some of it was not. Some of it was kind of closed door. Overall, I thought it was good, but overall, I did think it was good. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I read it super quick. It was a quick read. I was pulled into the world. I was interested to see what was going to happen. I've seen other reviews where people said that they liked the first half of the book and then the second half of the book was kind of boring. I don't know that I would say that. I don't think that it was boring. I think there was a certain plot point that maybe didn't need to happen. Something else could have been done. But I think it was done to just kind of show like the character flaws in these characters, and mainly one of the characters, and to show just the kind of control that was being like lauded over these two girls. But I think that could have been done in a different way. I don't think that specific thing was needed. But I don't think it was boring at all. Like I said, I enjoyed the whole book. I liked it. I think having the trigger warnings, I don't usually read trigger warnings because there isn't much that like upsets me. So I don't usually ever read trigger warnings unless they're like right there in the book, and in this case they were, right, like on the first page, like the front page before the book starts. And I think those set me up to think that it was going to be darker, and those things were going to be more prevalent than they were. So I was kind of not necessarily let down, but like it just wasn't what I was expecting. So that's why I ended up not giving it 5 stars. There wasn't anything that like put it into 5-star territory for me. But it was definitely good, and I do definitely recommend it. And I did already go and request Dowry of Blood from the library because I do want to read more from this author. So yeah, that is the first book from this arc reading vlog. That comes out on February 16th, I believe. I will link it down below, the Goodreads link. Thank you to NetGalley for giving me that arc. I really enjoyed this one. I would definitely be on the lookout for more books from this author. Then the second book that I talked about earlier in the vlog is Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I think I said earlier in the vlog that I thought this was like a football romance, but it's actually golf. And I know even less about golf than I do about football. And I probably, I think I might, you could probably convince me to watch golf before you could convince me to watch football. But I figured I'd give it a try. I love Tessa Bailey. And I'm liking this. Again, I read it super quick. I haven't finished it, but I'm like 90% in. And I got that 90% in within like 24 hours. So, this is about, Josephine, who is a, like mega fan of this golfer, Weathers, I think his name is. She has been his like fan for like 5 years. She follows him around to tournaments and different games, or what are they called, games? I don't know. Tournaments. She follows him around to different tournaments and is a huge fan, like always carries signs for him, has shirts done, blah blah. Everybody knows her as this huge fan. He knows her because she's at like every tournament for the past 5 years. So they have developed this sort of like acquaintanceship where, you know, he knows her, he expects her to be there, blah blah. But over the years, his golf game has suffered, and he has gone from being like the top dog in golf, you know, being compared to like Tiger Woods and stuff, to having like a really crappy game, and he's lost all his fans, to the point where his manager has left him, and his mentor has left him, and people know that he's kind of like the asshole of the sport. He always has a bad, like attitude, and he is not what you would expect from a typical like golfer, which I think is what I like about it. He's not this like preppy, you know, rich kid who played golf in high school and whatever, has now a career, whatever. It's not like that. He's basically the bad boy who was getting into trouble and was going to go to jail, and the judge gave him the option of either go to juvie or get a job and do something constructive. And so he got a job at a golf course, and then everything kind of followed from there. And golf basically saved his life, and so he's the bad boy who becomes a golfer. But he doesn't succumb to like the expectations of golfers. He's not going to change who he is to be what people think a golfer would be like. And so over the years, his reputation has like kind of failed him, and he's had a bad reputation, and now he's kind of on the down and outs. And then a hurricane comes and hits where Laura lives, and her parents' pro shop is destroyed. And so they make a deal that she's going to become his caddy and help him kind of relearn the game and get like his groove back, basically, and fall back in love with the game. And so that's what most of the story is about. Like I said, I'm about 90% through. I don't want to give more away, but I am really liking it. Super cute. The smut is good. I didn't like Wreck the Halls as much because it didn't have as much smut as Tessa Bailey books usually do. I didn't really love the characters. This, I'm liking the characters. The golf part is fine. But I'm really liking the characters. I love the banter. That's one thing I love about Tessa Bailey is her banter. And the smut scenes have been really good. So I'm really liking it. I think it's on the track to be a good 4-star maybe. We'll see. We just got to like the miscommunication part of a typical romance, contemporary romance. So we'll see how that ends up going. That's going to kind of what we'll decide if it ends up being a 3 or 4-star for me. So like I said, I'm running an errand on my lunch. I'm going to get my nails done. They're way overdue. So I'm going to get my nails done, and I'll finish up this update when I come back out. Guys, welcome back. So it is, I don't know when the last time I updated this was, but it is now Monday, February 12th. My last arc for this month is Lore of the Wilds. I think I talked about that the last time I updated, but just in case I didn't, I want to go ahead and talk about it now. So this is Lore of the Wild. This is an arc that I received through NetGalley. I will put the cover up here. I am currently 3 chapters in. This seems like it's going to be pretty good. So the main character in this book is Lore. She is an orphan, I believe. She's currently living in kind of like a foster home. And her aunt and uncle, I believe, are the like caretakers of all these kids. And so Lore helps them take care of these kids, as well as runs their like apothecary shop in this like village where they live. And she is slated to like take over this like foster house that they have eventually, like once they pass or retire or whatever the case is. She's like next in line to take over. And she, like I said, runs their apothecary shop and creates like little potions and tinctures and things like that. She also so this land, they are in a small little village set in the middle of the like fairylands, and they can't leave those fairylands. There are like sentries and guards that keep them within the fairylands. So they are, I don't know if I really say they're like enslaved, but they are, the fairies keep them kind of like impoverished. None of these humans in this village have a lot of money. They work very hard for very little. The fae come and like take their products and take their money. So the fae kind of purposely keep them like poor so that they can have better control of them. And so far we don't know like how these humans ended up in this little like pocket of fairyland. But like I said, they're not allowed to leave. Lore tried to leave once and was caught, and we don't really know like what her punishment was or what exactly happened. They mention like gods in this book, but they haven't really talked about what or who those gods exactly are. But she says that she like no longer believes in gods and no longer believes in magic. There is a male like best friend who's trying to convince her to try to run away, but she doesn't want to because he doesn't know that she already tried and got caught. And so the book starts out basically with Lore at the little like apothecary shop, and all of a sudden these two fae show up and are trying to purchase. They're looking for someone. They don't find him. They're looking for Lore's uncle. They don't find him, and Lore kind of catches the attention of one of the fae, and she catches his attention because she can read and write, which I guess isn't common amongst the humans because they're not like given the chance to be educated. But Lore transcribes books from like the human language or like the old language into like the fae language and sells them in the shop. And so the fae see this while they're in the shop, and the male fae, that causes Lore to be like in the male's attention because he knows that she can read and write. And so he makes a comment of something like, I found what I was looking for. So I think he's gonna either come back and like buy her off the aunt and uncle, or kidnap her, or something's gonna happen and she's gonna end up with him, or he's gonna try to come get her and she's gonna have to run. Something's gonna happen with that female and her. I can just feel like the setup of it. So not exactly sure where it's gonna go or how that's gonna happen, but like I said, I'm only 3 chapters in, so obviously there's still a lot that could happen. But I'm really like the setting so far. It's very descriptive of this little like kind of rundown village. It's, like just set in the middle of the woods, surrounded by fairylands, and they're kind of just stuck in this village. And I love a book that is set up that way, where it's kind of isolated and the main like characters can't really leave this place. I like that setup. So we'll see. I think this is going to be kind of like an adventure type thing, where she's gonna have to set off on like a quest maybe, or to maybe leave in order to protect her aunt and uncle and the other kids, something like that. And I think it might be Polly. If I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw somewhere that it was Polly. I could be wrong, but if it is, that's gonna be very interesting. So yeah, that's the update for now. I'm gonna keep reading it, and I will check back in when I have another update. You guys, I think I have actually found an Hazelwood book that I like. I haven't updated this in a while, but I am now like 43% into Bride by Hazelwood, and I'm actually really liking it. I was fully prepared to go into this and like hate it and be like picking it apart and picking out all the things that I didn't like, and I have not done that. I mean, that's not true. There have been a couple of things. I was kind of rolling my eyes a bit at the beginning, but I'm really liking it. I like the story. I like the plot. The main character is not as annoying as I thought she was gonna be. There's one thing that Hazelwood does in this book that I love, so that might be doing it for me. But yeah, like I said, I fully expected to not like this, and it is the opposite. I'm actually really liking it. Maybe it's because this is more my like speed. I love a paranormal romance. I love books with werewolves. I love books with vampires. Also the whole alpha like Omegaverse aspect of it. I love that as well. I've read several Omegaverse books, so it could be that as well. No, this isn't quite as like aggressively Omegaverse as some of the kind of limited books I've read, but it has all these different elements that I really like. So maybe that is what is drawing my attention, why I'm liking it more. So this is about the main character, the female main character, who is a vampire. Her name is Misery, which at first I was kind of annoyed at, but actually I'm kind of liking it. Her name is Misery. She's a vampire. She, in this world, so there's vampires, werewolves, and humans. And in this world, I don't know exactly how often, but the vampires give up a child as collateral to the humans, basically saying we won't kill humans, or like come into your territory. If we do, you have our collateral, you can kill the collateral, basically. So it's a way to keep the vampires in line. I don't think the werewolves do this. Maybe they do. The main female character of the story is Misery, who was collateral as a child. So when she was like 6 years old, she was given up to the humans. She was with them until she was 18, and then after she turned 18, by that time she had been so used to being with the humans that she decided to stay with the humans. Now the humans don't know, there's like a small group of humans that know she's a vampire, but to everyone else she has to pretend to be human. So she has to like file down her fangs and like secretly sneak drinking blood, and so it's a secret. And she works at a like a tech company, I think. She's very techy, so that's how Hazelwood has brought in the kind of STEM female like genius kind of aspect into this that she brings into all her books. Misery is a hacker, which is pretty funny. I actually kind of like that. She reminds me a little bit of Garcia from Criminal Minds. But yeah, so she's a hacker. And then the male main character is I can't remember her name now, but he's a werewolf. He's the alpha. Lo, I think is his name. He's an alpha. And then so Misery was the collateral. She turned 18. She stayed in the human world. Her best friend, who was with her since she was a child in the human world, her best friend since she was in the human world, disappears and like off the face of the earth, and she can't find her. She has no idea where she went. She left no trace. The cops aren't much help, which, of course, a young woman disappearing, never much help. So Of course, their first excuse is maybe she ran away, maybe you didn't know her as well as you thought, maybe she had a boyfriend and eloped, whatever. So the police are no help. Misery has no idea how to find her best friend. Then her father, who was like the head of the vampires, decides that there's going to be an arranged marriage in order to keep peace between the vampires and the werewolves. So of course, the book starts out with Misery marrying Lo. They have like an arranged marriage, and she has to move into werewolf territory. Nobody trusts her, nobody likes her. Of course, it's the typical arranged marriage, forced proximity, kind of enemies to lovers. They weren't really, I mean, I guess because they're vampires, werewolves, they're enemies, but they themselves were not really enemies. You never really have that aspect of them hating each other. It's like a combination of the two. He is very surprised and like just in like utter shock, but at the same time, is like trying to hold himself back. And she says that his blood smells very good also. She doesn't have quite that visceral reaction, but she's also not like an awful wolf, you know? But she does say that his blood smells better than anybody else's blood she's ever smelled. So I'm pretty sure they're mates. He keeps making, there are parts that are like in his point of view. It's not really his point of view. It's like his point of view is like the first line of the chapter, and then it goes back to her. But those first lines keep basically talking about how he's trying to avoid her and keep away because of her smell. And then like she keeps referencing, she thinks she smells bad to him. But I think it's the opposite, is that she smells good, and that's why he's trying to stay away. And so there's just been all these little clues throughout that make me think that she's his mate, actually. And then there's this whole kind of like secondary plot of trying to find the best friend who's missing, and that's kind of what ends up bringing them together. So the thing about this book that I'm really liking, that's really kind of making it for me, is that there is Lo has a little sister who is 7, and I love when a book brings a kid into a relationship with a main character who's kind of reluctant about kids. It doesn't really like kids, doesn't want kids, and the kid is so like cute and endearing that slowly the main character like changes their minds and doesn't realize that they're like falling for the kid and like are now wanting to protect the kid, and like next thing you know they're in love with this kid, and they develop like this bond. So Lo's little sister is 7 years old, and she's the only one who has not treated Misery badly because she's a vampire. She's actually very curious about her, and she's just this like super cute, like the author or the narrator, because I'm listening to audiobook, the narrator doing the voice does like this little like lisp, and she like pronounces words wrong, and instead of saying Misery, she just says Mircy, so she keeps calling her the wrong name because she can't pronounce it, and it's like super cute. And then she keeps like sneaking into Misery's room, and she like breaks into her room, and she's just like this little like spider monkey that like climbs from the roof down through Misery's window. And Misery, there's like a whole thing about the vampires in the sun or whatever, but Misery sleeps in a closet during the day, and the little girl, I can't remember her name, I want to say Anna, but I don't know if that's right, keeps like climbing into the closet to like cuddle with Misery and sleep with her, and she's the only one who's been like friendly to her, at the beginning at least, who's friendly to her, and like doesn't treat her badly just because she's a vampire. And it's super cute. Like, I don't know if it's just the way the narrator is narrating her and doing like her voice. Like I said, she's giving her this little lisp, and it's like cute kid's voice, which I love kids, like little squeaky voices. And I love how kind she is and trusting, and the innocence of kids. And you can just see Misery's like defenses slowly breaking when it comes to Anna, I think her name is. And I just love seeing their relationship. I love when the like side character, like the sidekick of the book, is a little kid who slowly wears down the adult. I love that. So yeah, like I said, 43% in. I'm interested to see where it's gonna go. So I would check back in with you guys once I get from there.
Dave's place made it smell like Dave was in his happy place, the massage chair at the mall. But he wasn't. Game
Okay guys, well, it was bound to happen eventually. I found an Hazelwood book that I actually enjoyed. I just finished Bride. I listened to the audiobook of it. I really, really liked it. I don't know if it's just because it was more like my type of book. I've always enjoyed like paranormal romances. I love werewolves. I love vampires. Combining the two is great. One of the main things that I didn't like about the love hypothesis was the sex scenes. They were like super awkward to me, and I didn't think they were very well written. That was not the case with Bride. They were really, really good. And it's not a case. Sometimes for me, like enjoying a book depends on the format. Sometimes I'll like an audiobook of a book, audiobook version of a book. But then if I try to read the book physically, I don't like it. But I don't think that's it, because I've tried Hazelwood's books both as physical and audiobooks before, and I didn't like them either way. This one, like I said, I don't know if it was just because it was more my like type of genre. I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was good. I really enjoyed the banter. I liked the main characters. There was a little bit of a twist that I didn't really see coming. Like I said, the sex scenes were good. Also, she does something, I think I said this earlier in the vlog, but she does something that I really love when there's a like child thrown in to kind of humanize a character who doesn't really look like kids. I love that element. There's like a friend group, which I really like, and there was also the setup for sequel, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, really surprised. I did not go into this thinking that I was gonna like it. The last 2 or 3 books by Hazelwood that I've tried to read, I did not enjoy. So, and really honestly, the love hypothesis was good up until the sex scenes and up until the end. Love on the Brand I didn't really like, but yeah, I went into this with very low expectations, and actually ended up really liking it. So that is great. I would listen to that again. So I'm excited for the sequel of it. I am very thankful to Penguin Random House for giving me an audio arc of it. I might even consider picking up the physical book to have. So yeah, I am done with that one. That is the 3rd or 4th book I finished arc that I finished on this video. I need to finish Lore of the Wilds, so I will give you more of an update, or I'll give you an update when I get further into that. Yeah, so it is a while later now. I don't even know when the last time I filmed for this arc vlog was. I think it was like last week. I'm actually going to be extending this. I'm going to end this here. I have not finished Lore of the Wilds. That is the last arc that I have for February. But this book is going to be coming out here tomorrow, actually. So I don't know that I'm going to finish it in time. So I may extend Lore of the Wilds into my March arc reading vlog, and just leave this here. So I ended up reading a few arcs that I really liked in this vlog. Bride was definitely the biggest surprise of them all. I was not expecting to enjoy that as much as I did. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I hope you enjoyed this little arc reading vlog. I think this is something that I'm going to continue to do throughout the year, just to keep myself accountable on getting these arcs done, and to bring something a little bit different to the channel. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if if you end up picking up any of these books after they publish. What did you think of these? Let me know down below. Give me a follow if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.